After 500 days, we finally have a plan, and it's a doozy of a plan. Fundamental problem with the plan is the numbers don't add up. In fact, they don't even come close to adding up. The net impact of the Rauner budget plan, which of course he calls a job creation plan, will be to, in effect, decimate the general funds to the tune of about $8 billion. That's $8 billion net of what he will generate through the various proposals that he has disseminated. In the same document to say that you want to increase funding for public education and you want to improve the quality of public education, yet you're going to slash the general funds budget, particularly the general funds discretionary budget, by $8 billion, whether it's over a single year or multiple years, is fundamentally dishonest. Bottom line is the numbers don't work, they don't add up, they don't come close to adding up. The fundamental problem lies in the fact that half the general funds budget is our obligations, our fixed obligations, like pension contributions, like group health insurance, debt service, etc. These are bills, for example. These are funds that cannot necessarily be cut. Education will realize a hit of about $4 billion. You cannot do those type of cuts without totally devastating education. Not to mention the other discretionary funding areas of the general funds. What are the discretionary areas? You have aging, you have veterans, you have public safety, you have health, you have children and family services, etc. These are critical programs. These provide critical needs. So the Rauner proposal generates a net reduction of almost $8 billion in discretionary spending, and the impact is going to be felt by these areas, and the greatest impact is going to be felt by education. So to just go out there and to say I'm going to slash the general funds budget by $8 billion, and education's going to lose all this money, but I'm going to freeze property taxes. That's going to solve all of our problems. It's totally disingenuous, if not fundamentally dishonest. The bottom line is this. At the K-12 level, superintendents like me we're going to be forced to increase class sizes, get rid of all our extracurricular activities, probably disinvest in early childhood education, probably cut back on our vocational technical education. In other words, we're going to revert back to our core services. At the community college level, they're going to continue to contract their programs, and they're going to raise their tuition. And the community colleges will pretty soon start to price themselves like some of the conventional colleges and maybe even some of the universities, because that's going to happen. Community colleges are going to end up being less of a financial alternative for those who can't afford regular colleges. At the university level, besides cutting back, universities are just going to raise their tuition, and they're going to raise their tuition dramatically. So at the end of the day, you can't talk about creating jobs and slash education. You can't talk about creating jobs and drive up tuition costs for the universities. You can't talk about creating jobs and decimate your elementary and secondary education systems. And if you don't think that you can cut $8 billion from discretionary spending and not devastate schools across the state, and in the poorest communities absolutely destroy their schools as they currently exist, this is even worse than smoke and mirrors.